That was a good slip. I thought I was going to say take a breath, but I said let's take a break. And what I'm hearing is how interchangeable those are. That's what taking a breath does. It helps us to take a break. Our theme this month is awakening. And my topic today is staying awake. Staying awake. And I'm feeling particularly moved right now with this being the Martin Luther King Jr. weekend celebration, where there's so many things that are going on. In years past, I've shared the pulpit with Dr. King, and we listened to a clip, or look at some kind of video, and there's so much that's online right now. I really want to encourage you to do that. I'm a connoisseur of King's speeches. There's a particular collection called A Call to Conscience, which is put out by Time Warner. It's 8 CDs of collections of his speeches. And part of the reason why I highly recommend that one is that every speech has an intro, and the intro sets the context for what was going on. And each of the intros is done by somebody who, in fact, was there. So Rosa Parks wrote the one for his first Montgomery speech. The Dalai Lama writes the one for his Nobel Peace Prize speech. I mean, it's really rich. It's really rich. George McGovern does the intro for the Beyond Vietnam, and his little intro just helps you really get like what was going on. So I highly recommend that. But as a connoisseur of King's speeches, what I know is that his central theme was wake up. That was his central theme. Somebody gave me a bumper sticker years ago. It's in my office. It says, "Wake the flock up." And that very well could have been his motto. Wake up. Wake up. Spiritual growth and maturity is a process of remembering and unlearning. It's a process of remembering and unlearning. We think that we're searching after things we don't know. That's what most of us think. That there's some void, I need to learn more. That in order for me to grow, I need to get exposed to something new or things that I've never heard of. So we tend to be a little dismissive of things that are even halfway familiar, because, well, that didn't do it. Well, I've already heard that. What else is there? What new? What? And we're on this constant search for the external. But if you really think about it, those moments when you had great epiphanies, when you feel like, whoa, I'm really learning something, I'm really getting it. Maybe it was a moment of reconciliation in a deep conflictual situation. Maybe you were struggling with something academically. Could have been mathematics or something, and it just, like, suddenly you saw light. It could be almost anything. But notice at that moment, it didn't feel so much like you actually gathered something new, but you dropped into the party that was already going on. Do you know what I mean? It's like suddenly, whoa, what strikes you is that it was in front of you all the time. Not so much, oh, there's this great mystery that I have suddenly found, but more like, where was I? That I didn't see this before. Not, woo, look at me, look at what I found. But where have I been? Why wasn't it? Because it was all right here. You know what I'm saying? There's that sense of, it's kind of like dropping in. That's what I mean by the awakening, where it literally is like an artichoke or an onion, where there's layers and layers and layers. There's layers of dropping in, and most especially what we're doing is we're unlearning. Listen to what I'm saying. We're unlearning. Because everything that we ever need to know is already within us. It already is us. What we're looking for, we're looking with. And our charge here as we grow and spiritually mature is to let go of the garbage, the false lenses, the ego identities, the attachments, the hopes and dreams and desires and expectations and failures and judgments and blame and shame. It's like all of that stuff, it's like a backpack that's weighing us down and making us sink. So we're having to disrobe. We're having to become lighter and lighter. There's a line in Scripture when Jesus is giving a parable, and it's an often misunderstood parable. Jesus spoke in Aramaic. It was a Hebrew dialect. And the Aramaic language only has 600 words. So the words are often repurposed for many different things. And the word for camel also means rope. It's the same word. So there's a line in there when he says that it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. We have taken that to be some kind of assault against wealth. Like there's something wrong with rich people. But that's not true. Most of the real main characters in the Bible were filthy rich. Okay? So it's not about that. This is not a rich in wealth, but a puffed upness in spirit. Okay? That's what that word means. Like full of yourself. Full of yourself. So there have been all kind of things about what is this camel in the eye of the needle. And there's certain gates, and some people have thought it meant they had the camel, had to take the backpack off, blah, blah, blah. But linguistically, what it's really saying, a rope through the eye of a needle. It would be easier to get a rope through the eye of a needle than for somebody puffed up to get it into the place of enlightened awareness. What would you have to do to a rope to get it through the eye of a needle? You got to pull off the layers. See? Because that's what a rope is. A rope is layers and layers and layers and layers of string. That's what makes it strong. It's all those layers. Okay? We're caught up in ropes. We've roped our own selves in with our own layers and layers and layers. And there comes that point in time when we have to unpeel it. And we have to unpeel it. And that's not a comfortable feeling at all. It's not comfortable. It's not particularly fun. From the ego standpoint, because our identities are so attached to these threads of our rope. We think that's who we are. This thread is my childhood. This thread was my marriage. This thread is my career. This thread is this, and this thread is that, and this thread. And it said, don't mess with my threads. Everybody wants to grow and to transform, but don't dare change the story of my life. We used to say in the Pentecostal church, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And that's how it is. All of us want these new enlightened ways of being, but none of us want to die to our old way. But every spiritual tradition will tell you it's a daily dying. It's a daily dying. I like the way that it's put in the Tao Te Ching, basically the Taoist Bible by Lao Tzu, where he says every day in the pursuit of knowledge, something is added. But every day in the practice of the Tao, something is dropped. Listen to that. In the pursuit of knowledge, you think you're adding. You're constantly seeking, and it's like stockpiling. Now I know this, and now I know that, and now I have this degree, and now we got this and this and this. And whoo, look at all my stuff. Okay. But in the practice of the Tao, it's the other way around. In the practice of the living God, it's the other way around. Where every day you're dropping, you're letting go. This is the process of staying awake. This is the process of staying awake. And if you really want to stay woke, you have to grow to love the process. Listen to what I'm saying. We can't just moan and groan about it. We have to grow to love it, where you look forward to it, where every day you're just excited to see what lie am I going to break through today? What shackle is going to be taken off my feet today? What illusion is going to be dissipated? In what way is my consciousness wrapped around something that, whoo, by the time the morning comes around, I can let that go? Got a sigh over here. It's a different way of being in the world. It's a different way of being in the world. It's so much easier giving up trying to be right. You can't be anyway. It's not our burden. This song that we were just singing says, "Speak to my heart." We're preparing for our prayer season now, where we come together in small groups in individual homes for 4 or 5 week period here. And we tend to think of prayer as like yakking at God. But prayer is a movement in consciousness. Prayer is a movement in consciousness, but who's doing the moving? We think that our prayers or influencing some god or whatnot. You know, snap, snap. You're the genie in the bottle. Come on, bring me what I want. Come on, come on. Hello? Why are you always late, God? Why are you stressing me out? Why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Prayer is a movement in consciousness. But we're the ones moving. We're the ones moving. So when you pray, you are giving permission for your rope to be unraveled. When you pray, you are giving the divine permission to twist your kaleidoscope. I love kaleidoscopes. I've got all kinds of kaleidoscopes. You know, you look in it and you twist it, nothing falls in or out, but you get a whole nother picture. That's how it is. But we can't twist our own kaleidoscopes. We can't. We have to go up to transcendent places of awareness where we allow something to wash over us, to cleanse us, to purify us, so that we can see. When we stay fixated on all the stuff that we think that we know, we become mesmerized. That's how you become hypnotized. Your focus is unbroken, and it's riveted. And then we become under the spell of it. We become under its suggestion. So what's happening now is a lot of us are being hypnotized by the news. We're being hypnotized by our finances. We're being hypnotized by our health conditions. Even if you're driving your car, if you don't shift your focus, you will become hypnotized by the road. You have to keep moving your eyes and your consciousness around, or you will have a wreck. And you move in the direction of your attention. We move in the direction of our attention. So those of you who might be tuning in from wherever, in California, cars are a big deal. Okay, so I use a lot of driving analogies. Because most people drive. Even if they don't have their own car, they know how to drive and can drive or will drive when they can drive. If your attention goes to the side of the road, what happens? You veer in that direction. Hence that old saying about keep your eye on the plow. Your line will go all over the place if you're not staying focused. If thine eye be single. If thine eye be single. But this focus that I'm talking about, do not confuse it with attachment. That's not what I'm talking about. When I say keep your eyes single, when I say prayer is a movement in consciousness, what I am saying is that you're listening. You're listening. All the answers that you ever want to have are within you, but you got to slow down. You have to take the breath. You have to take the break in order to hear it. It's just like with any other relationship. If I'm stuck on my side, I can't hear you. There's a line in the sacred yes, and be my lover, and I will be your lover too. It's the only place where I've combined two letters. It says, You will never be confused about my point of view if you're willing to see my side. Is that what you're looking for in your prayers? Can you imagine what a difference it would be if when you went to your prayer, you really asked yourself, what does God see here? What does this look like through universal eyes? What would this look like through the lens of no lack, no limitation, no otherness, no drama, no division? Whoa. What would it look like through those eyes? Are you with me? We're busy trying to get God to look through our eyes. We're trying to get God scared with us. We're trying to get God to give our sense of urgency on our timing. But that's not staying awake. That's staying asleep in our own story, in our own drama. Gotta wake up. Gotta wake up. And what are we awakening to? We're awakening to the truth of our being. But it's constant. So don't belittle yourself. Don't berate yourself. As human beings, we get off. Just get back on. We spend more time beating ourselves up for being off than we do getting back on. As though getting off was the biggest betrayal in the world. We get off, that's what we do. Come back. The sign of your progress is not so much how long you can stay the course. It's how quickly do you correct. Okay? It's not how long you can stay unwavering with no mistakes, but how resilient you are. How quickly do you come back? How fast do you change? How quickly do you let it go to get back into alignment? We were just having a discussion about this with the second-year practitioner training program, the Be the Change 2, last Thursday. And I was explaining how we try to get into our self-righteousness sometimes. But is it really worth it? Is it worth it? So I was using myself as an example. I said, I'm a very powerful manifester. I've been doing this work for decades, for many years. But it doesn't matter what it is in terms of the attention of my focus. So I am just as powerful off as I am on. Listen to that. Maybe more. I'm just as if my staff's nodding every place. I'm just don't laugh so hard. I'm just as powerful off as on. You get what I'm saying? Because we don't get a set of energy to love and a set of energy to condemn. We don't get a set of energy to stay stuck and then a set of energy to go forward. It's just you and how you're using you at any given point in time. It's just you. We want both. I want to stay in my own narrative, let my energy stay there, and I want some energy to pursue something new. It doesn't work like that. There's just you, your energy, and where does it go? So what I've had to grow to understand is the degree of my anger, it's just not worth it. If something goes on in the White House that makes me nuts, it doesn't mean I'm not doing my work. But if I get too caught up in my anger about that, my day goes off. Okay? I'm out of the goodness that I can experience. I'm out of the grace. My timing is off. It's not doing anything for the White House. Nothing. It's getting me off. So to even be effective to do the work that we have to do, we have to stay awake. If we get caught up in the divisiveness, if we get caught up in the drama, if we're being just as nasty and just as divisive as the stuff that we say that we're against, then we're just more of it. That's why it says in Scripture that judgment begets judgment. You get more of whatever it is you're putting out. So when you stay awake, it makes you conscious and you can assume responsibility. This is the basic stuff of recovery. Stay awake. Because when we get into our addictive tendencies, when we get into the denials, we're not even aware that we're doing it. We're not even aware that we're acting out. We're not even aware. So part of the 12-step meetings and whatnot is just being with people to help you stay awake. That's why we're here like in spiritual community. And sometimes we get mad at each other because we're people. And it's a spiritual community and they're supposed to be evolved. No. We're not more evolved. We're just more committed to consciously trying to stay awake. And can we have a little bit of compassion for each other for falling asleep? And newsflash. I'm ending soon, but I really want you to understand this. The way that our ego mind works, it doesn't like change. It does not like change. It would rather stay in the pain of the familiar than to chance the potential of the unknown. It would rather stay in the pain of the familiar than to chance the potential of the unknown. And we have such attachment to it that it feels natural. It'll actually feel like us. So as we grow and stretch and awaken, for a while to your ego self, you won't feel like you. If you are accustomed to a lot of drama, a healthy relationship will appear to be boring. Really. If you are accustomed to, like, your adrenal glands pumping all the time out of fear and survival mode, if things are working well, you'll be like, where's the axe going to fall? You know, I can't just sit in this and relax. You know, there's got to be something coming at me somewhere. this hyper alert. Are you with me? Just breathe through it. Grow through it. Understand it as part of the process. We have to recalibrate. We have to shift in such a way that we build whole new systems that help to keep us awake. If I look at the recovery model again, if you want to stop drinking, it's not just a matter of, do I not put my hand on this bottle? I'm going to have to reorganize my whole life, because my whole life has become organized around this habit and this stress response. And I'm having to retrain myself. So for all intents and purposes, this staying awake is akin to spiritual recovery. It's like we're going into spiritual recovery. It's like we become addicted to ways of attachment. We've become addicted to these different things. And once we've made those kind of couplings in our brain, we get visceral reactions and responses. That's the unlearning. That's the unlearning. But the good news about this is the sweet part, is that you reach this tipping point, kind of like eating healthy foods. At first, it's kind of, but then after a while, your body just loves it, right? And it starts to crave it, and then it works the other way, where the caffeines, the sugars, all of that, your body will start to reject it. Or that tipping point with exercise. You don't want to do it. You don't want to get up. Oh. That's why community helps again. Support. Doing it with somebody. I have to do this. I have to do this. And then you get to a point where your body's like, hey, this kind of feels good. And you reach that tipping point where instead of, your body's going, hey, when are we going? When are we going to do this? And, it's like, we didn't walk. We didn't, hey! So instead of you having to push yourself, it clicks in. Are you with me? So that's what will happen here. That's what will happen. Technically speaking, this is referred to as the learning curve. I do the graphic of it. But that learning curve is where you keep putting more and more inputs and you don't get that much more out. Like if you hire a new employee, you're going to spend more on them than they are productive initially. Okay? It's your investment into it. But there's going to come a point in time when it kicks. Okay? What happens for most of us is that we give up too soon. We give up in the learning curve. Like, well, I put 10 minutes of meditation, I didn't get anything. I put 20 and I still didn't get anything. And I put 30, well, this doesn't work. We tried 10 years of trying to correct social justice. We tried 30 years. We tried 40 years. This stuff doesn't work. Trying to undo centuries worth of stuff, and it don't work in a couple of years. Trying to undo decades of your own thinking. It doesn't work. After a couple of weeks. Stick with it. That's the staying awake. Stick with it. Stick with it. And I promise you, something kicks in. And once it kicks in, it carries you over. Once it kicks in, it won't let you go back to what you were. Once you see, you can't unring the bell. You can't unknow what you know. You can't unsee. You won't even feel comfortable saying the stuff you used to say. You won't even feel comfortable being as nasty as you used to be. Even to yourself. Even to yourself. You won't do it. You won't do it. I'm inviting us. Wake up. We're such beautiful, powerful, rich, loving, compassionate beings. It's who we are. If we just dare for a moment to claim that. To claim that. Let those threads of attachment, let those threads of all the addictive behaviors that we've had to power and control and all the, just naked. Jamie Lula was here singing about naked. Naked. And although it feels vulnerable, baby, it's free. It gets free. And on the other side of that discomfort of being disrobed is the freedom of your nakedness. And I guarantee you, you wouldn't trade it for the world. You wouldn't trade it for the world. Breathe.